The laughable challenger. The Grand Colosseum of Proxima Centauri floated in geosynchronous orbit above the capital city of Nexus, its massive anti-gravity generators humming with the energy output of a small star. The structure itself was a testament to the technological prowess of the Galactic Confederation, a gleaming ring of impossibly strong transparent alloys that gave spectators a perfect view of the carnage within, while keeping them safely separated from it. Nova Chen watched the structure grow larger through the viewport of the prisoner transport ship. Her wrists ached from the neural restraints that were calibrated for species with far less muscle density than humans. The Krith guards had laughed when they'd put them on her, four-armed amphibious beings with translucent skin that revealed the constant flow of copper-based blood through their systems. "The human female is awake," one of them announced, voice bubbling through a translator implant. "It continues to display unusual vital signs." The second guard made a dismissive gesture with its lower set of arms. "Their homeworld has ridiculous gravity and atmospheric pressure. The database says they're persistence predators. Fascinating but ultimately primitive." Nova remained silent. 6 months ago, she had been Earth's leading weapons specialist on the first diplomatic mission to the Confederation. Now she was a prisoner, accused of espionage after discovering plans for a preemptive strike against humanity's fledgling colonies. Rather than face execution, she had invoked an ancient Confederation law: trial by combat in the Grand Colosseum. The transport ship docked with a pneumatic hiss. Nova was yanked to her feet and marched through a series of sterile corridors until they reached the processing center, a vast chamber filled with various species being fitted with combat sensors and receiving medical examinations. Contestant 127, human female, Terra origin, announced a hovering drone as it scanned her. "Warning: biological parameters exceed baseline measurements. Recalibration required." A slender, gray-skinned being with elongated fingers approached, carrying what appeared to be medical equipment. Its large black eyes blinked rapidly as it consulted a holographic display. "Impossible readings," it muttered. "Your bone density is 3 times our projections. Muscle fiber arrangement indicates potential strength output far beyond your size category." Nova shrugged. "Earth gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. We evolved under constant pressure." The being's eyes widened further. "A death-world species. The classification was considered theoretical. We prefer challenging environment," Nova replied dryly. The being adjusted several settings on the combat sensors before attaching them to Nova's temples and wrists. "The grand tournament begins in 1 rotation. Your first match is against a Vorax warrior. They are carnivorous and possess natural toxins. Your survival probability is calculated at 12.7%. Better odds than I was given for basic training," Nova muttered, remembering the drill sergeant who'd bet she wouldn't last a week. The holding cell they placed her in was spacious by prison standards, clearly designed for beings much larger than humans. Nova used the opportunity to stretch her muscles, performing a series of exercises designed to keep her body primed in variable gravity environments. "Look at the tiny creature," a rumbling voice said from the cell opposite hers. "It moves like a prey animal." Nova glanced up to see a massive, insectoid being with iridescent carapace watching her through the energy barrier. 6 limbs ended in serrated appendages, and its mandibles clicked with what she assumed was amusement. "I am Sokral, 3-time champion of the Outer Rim territories," it announced. "What are you called, little morsel?" Nova Chen, human, Earth. She continued her push-ups without breaking rhythm. "Human. I have not tasted your kind before." Nova completed her set and stood, rolling her shoulders. "You won't get the chance. I'm not on the menu." Sokral's mandibles clicked rapidly. Laughter, perhaps. "All who enter the arena are potentially on the menu, little human, especially those who cannot even reach my thorax." Before Nova could respond, the energy barriers deactivated, and a squad of guards appeared to escort the contestants to the arena proper. As they walked through the tunnels, the sound of the crowd grew from a distant murmur to a deafening roar. A row of massive view screens displayed the current match, a tentacled aquatic being facing off against something that resembled a rhino crossed with a porcupine. The match ended abruptly when the rhino creature impaled its opponent on its spines, causing the crowd to erupt in approving shrieks. "Contestants, prepare for introduction," a melodious voice announced through hidden speakers. "The 43rd Grand Tournament of the Galactic Confederation continues with preliminary round 6. Nova was directed to a small platform that would raise her into the arena. As she stepped onto it, a guard approached with a weapons rack. "Choose one," it instructed. The array was impressive: plasma cutters, graviton maces, neural whips, and various bladed weapons designed for alien anatomies. Nova examined each carefully before selecting a simple metal staff. The guard's eye membranes flickered in what might have been surprise. "That is a training weapon. It has no enhancements." "It's balanced," Nova replied, testing the weight. "That's enhancement enough." The platform began to rise, and Nova took a deep breath, centering herself as sunlight suddenly washed over her. The arena was a perfect circle, its floor covered in blue sand that sparkled under the twin suns of Proxima Centauri. The crowd, a kaleidoscope of alien forms and colors, fell into a curious hush as she stepped forward. From the isolated world of Terra, classification, potential death world, we present contestant Nova Chen, human female. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. Weight category: minimal. Threat assessment: negligible. A wave of what could only be described as derisive alien laughter rippled through the crowd. Nova ignored it, focusing instead on the opposite platform where her opponent was emerging. The Vorax warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, its segmented body covered in chitinous plates, the color of dried blood. 4 arms ended in natural bone blades, while its elongated head featured multiple rows of needle-like teeth. Facing her is the fearsome Drix, champion of the Vorax hives. 11 victories, 7 consumptions. The crowd roared its approval as Drix raised its bladed arms and performed a series of lightning-fast slashing movements. Combat begins in 3, 2, 1. Engage. Drix charged immediately, covering the distance between them with shocking speed for something its size. Nova waited until the last possible moment before diving into a roll, causing the alien to slash at empty air. As she came up behind it, she struck quickly with the staff, targeting the joint between body segments. The metallic clang that resulted told her the carapace was too thick for direct damage. Drix whirled around, hissing what must have been curses in its native tongue. "The human displays unexpected agility," the announcer commented, surprise evident in its tone. Nova circled carefully, observing Drix's movements. The Vorax was fast, but telegraphed its attacks with a slight shift in its center of gravity. When it lunged again, she was ready, sidestepping the attack and bringing her staff down on one of its secondary arms with all her earthborn strength. The limb cracked audibly, green ichor spraying across the blue sand. The crowd gasped collectively. Drix shrieked in pain and fury, rearing back to spit a stream of viscous fluid at Nova. She recognized the defense mechanism from her briefing: neurotoxin, capable of paralyzing creatures 10 times her size. She dropped and rolled again, feeling droplets spatter against her back, instantly numbing the skin through her thin prison garment. "Careful, human," the announcer called gleefully. "Vorax toxin is fatal to most oxygen breathers." Nova grimaced as the numbness spread. She needed to end this quickly. Drix was wounded but still dangerous, and now it was keeping its distance, trying to hit her with toxic spit rather than closing to melee range. She feigned a stumble, making it appear the toxin was taking effect. Drix took the bait, rushing forward for the kill. This time, Nova didn't dodge. She braced herself, planted the staff in the ground, and used it to vault directly upward as Drix reached her. The move carried her above the charging alien's head, and she came down hard on its back, driving the end of the staff into the junction between its head and thorax. The thorax collapsed instantly, its nervous system temporarily short-circuited by the precise strike. The arena fell silent. "Incredible," the announcer exclaimed after a moment of shocked quiet. "The human has defeated Drix using only a training staff. Victory by incapacitation." As medical drones rushed in to attend to the fallen thorax, Nova stood calmly in the center of the arena, leaning slightly on her staff as she fought off the effects of the toxin. The crowd's reaction was mixed: confusion, disbelief, and a few scattered appreciative sounds from species who recognized the skill involved. In the VIP viewing box, Grand Arbiter Zaxul leaned forward, his crystalline form catching the light as he turned to his security chief. "Interesting," he hummed. "The human database may require updating." Over the next 3 days, Nova fought and defeated 5 more opponents, each more formidable than the last. A gelatinous creature that attempted to absorb her whole was flash dehydrated when she lured it over a heating vent in the arena floor. A telekinetic being that tried to crush her organs remotely discovered that human determination could overcome psychic pressure. A pack-hunting species that relied on coordinated attacks found its strategy disrupted when Nova used their own communication frequencies against them. With each victory, the crowd's derision turned gradually to fascination, then to anticipation. Betting pools that had initially put her survival odds at near zero were now offering increasingly favorable terms. On the 4th day, Nova was summoned to the Grand Arbiter's viewing box. The crystalline being regarded her with faceted eyes that reflected her image back infinitely. "You have surprised us, human," Zaxul said, his voice a melodious chime. "Tomorrow you face Krazoth, our reigning champion. He has never been defeated." "There's always a first time," Nova replied evenly. Indeed, the Arbiter's crystal structure shifted slightly, their equivalent of a smile, perhaps. "He is from Drakon VI, a world with gravity twice that of your Earth. His species evolved as apex predators with redundant biological systems. He possesses 8 limbs, each capable of exerting enough force to crush titanium." Nova met the Arbiter's gaze steadily. "Then it should be an interesting match." As she turned to leave, Zaxul added, "Your species was classified as primitive, isolated, and harmless. I believe we may have been mistaken on at least one count." Nova paused at the doorway. "You were mistaken on all 3. That night, in her holding cell, Nova reviewed everything she had learned about Krazoth from the tournament broadcasts and prisoner gossip. The champion was a mountain of muscle and bone, standing 4 meters tall with 4 arms, 4 legs, and skin like armored plate. His homeworld's brutal gravity had created a being of incredible density and strength, capable of surviving wounds that would kill most other species instantly. But Nova had noticed something during his matches: a slight hesitation when changing direction, a fraction of a second when his massive body had to overcome its own inertia. On Earth, they called it Newton's first law. In the arena tomorrow, she would make it her salvation. As dawn broke over the artificial horizon of Proxima Centauri, the Grand Colosseum was filled beyond capacity. News of the humans' unexpected success had spread throughout the Confederation, and now dignitaries from 100 worlds had come to witness either a historic upset or the inevitable squashing of an upstart species. Nova stood on the rising platform, staff in hand, breathing deeply as she prepared for the most important fight of her life, and possibly for the future of humanity in the galactic community. The strength of gravity's children. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications, the announcer's voice resonated through the Grand Colosseum. "Welcome to the championship match of the 43rd Grand Tournament." The crowd's roar was deafening, a cacophony of sounds that no single translation matrix could fully interpret. Nova Chen stood at one end of the arena, her simple prison garment replaced with a form-fitting combat suit, a concession from the Grand Arbiter following her unexpected advancement to the finals. In the challenger's position, defying all predictions, the human female from Terra, Nova Chen. A mixture of cheers and jeers greeted her name. Nova maintained her focus, eyes fixed on the massive gate at the opposite end of the arena where her opponent would emerge. And now, the being you've all been waiting for, undefeated for 3 consecutive tournaments, the destroyer of worlds, the mountain that walks, KRAAAA's OTA. The gate shuddered open, and the champion emerged. If the broadcasts had made him look imposing, they failed to capture the true scale of the being. Krasov towered over Nova, a behemoth of muscle and bone with skin like volcanic rock. 4 massive arms ended in clawed hands, each holding a different weapon: a graviton hammer, a plasma blade, a neural disruptor, and a serrated chain whip. His 4 thick legs supported a torso that seemed carved from a single block of living stone. Most disturbing was his face, not because it was particularly alien, but because it was almost humanoid, with intelligent eyes set deep in an armored skull. Those eyes fixed on Nova now, narrowing slightly. "Human," Krasov rumbled, his voice deep enough to vibrate the sand beneath their feet. "You have fought well to reach me. It will be an honor to end your journey." Nova inclined her head slightly. "The honor is mine, champion. May the best being win." Krasov's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "I always do." The announcer's voice cut through their exchange. "Combatants ready. This is a championship match with no time limit. Victory by submission, incapacitation, or a dramatic pause, fatality. Begin." Unlike her previous opponents, Krasov did not immediately attack. He circled slowly, weapons at the ready, studying her movements. Nova did the same, staff held loosely in her hands, feet sliding smoothly across the blue sand. "The human employs a primitive weapon against the champion's arsenal," the announcer commented. "A bold or foolish choice." Krasov made the first move, a testing strike with the chain whip that Nova easily dodged. He nodded, as if confirming something to himself. "You move well for a species from a low-gravity world," he observed, circling again. "Earth's gravity isn't as strong as Dracon VI," Nova replied, "but we make up for it in other ways." This time she initiated, feinting with the staff before ducking under a swing of the graviton hammer that would have pulverized her had it connected. The weapon's energy field distorted the air around it, creating a localized increase in gravity that pulled at her limbs. Nova used the momentum to roll away, coming up behind Krasov and landing a quick strike to the back of one knee joint. The blow, which might have crippled a lesser being, merely caused Krasov to grunt in mild discomfort. "Is that the extent of your strength, human?" he asked, turning with surprising speed for his size. "Just warming up," Nova replied, already moving as the plasma blade sliced through the space she had occupied a split second earlier. For nearly 10 minutes, they continued this dance, Krasov attacking with increasingly complex combinations of his 4 weapons, Nova evading by the narrowest of margins, occasionally landing strikes that seemed to do little damage. The crowd, initially expectant of a quick victory for their champion, grew restless, then bewildered, then captivated. Incredible stamina displayed by the human challenger, the announcer observed. Most beings would have succumbed to exhaustion by now, simply from avoiding Krasov's attacks. Sweat poured down Nova's face, her breathing controlled but labored. Each near miss was closer than the last. The champion was learning her patterns, adapting his strategy. It was time to implement her plan. "Your species is known for persistence hunting," Krasov said, his own breathing unchanged. "You chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. An interesting evolutionary adaptation, but useless here. I do not tire, human." "Neither do I," Nova replied, though this was not entirely true. She could feel her muscles burning, the cumulative strain of days of combat taking its toll. But there was a difference between feeling fatigue and surrendering to it, a difference her opponent might not understand. She deliberately slowed her movements, allowing a strike from the chain whip to graze her shoulder. The serrated edges tore through the combat suit, drawing blood. The crowd gasped. "First blood to Krazoth," the announcer declared. The champion pressed his advantage, the gravitum hammer swinging in a wide arc. Nova dodged, but made it appear that she was struggling to maintain her speed. Krazoth's eyes gleamed with the recognition of imminent victory. "You have earned a quick death, human," he said, raising the plasma blade for a killing blow. It was exactly what Nova had been waiting for. As Krazoth committed to the downward strike, she didn't try to dodge. Instead, she stepped inside his guard, using her staff to deflect the blade just enough to miss her by millimeters. The plasma edge sizzled as it passed, close enough to sear the hairs on her arm. Now she was within the champion's defensive perimeter, and for a crucial second, his massive body had to overcome its own inertia to adjust. Nova struck with everything she had, driving the end of her staff into a precise point where his upper right arm joined his torso. There was a sound like cracking stone. Krazoth roared, not in pain, but in surprise, as the neural disruptor fell from suddenly nerveless fingers. "Impossible," he growled, his remaining 3 arms lashing out. Nova was already moving, ducking between his legs and striking upward at the joint of his lower left limb. Another crack, and Krazoth's perfect balance faltered. He staggered, compensating with his remaining limbs. The crowd had fallen completely silent, watching in disbelief as the seemingly invincible champion was systematically dismantled by a being half his size. The human has targeted vulnerable nerve clusters between Krazoth's armor plates, the announcer explained, voice hushed with awe. Points that even our medical scanners have difficulty locating. Nova didn't allow herself to be distracted by the commentary. Her entire focus was on the champion's movements, watching for the tells that would expose his next vulnerability. Krazoth had abandoned any pretense of strategy now, swinging wildly with his remaining weapons, trying to catch her with brute force. "How?" he demanded as she evaded a desperate swing. "How do you know where to strike?" "I studied you," Nova replied, breathing hard but steady. "Every broadcast, every match. Your species evolved perfect natural armor, but perfect isn't always optimal. Flexibility requires gaps in the plating. Where there are gaps, there are nerves." She demonstrated by driving her staff into another junction point, this time where his upper torso met his lower body. Krazoth's roar shook the arena as his nervous system misfired, causing his remaining arms to spasm uncontrollably. "You're from a high-gravity world," Nova continued, circling the faltering champion. "Twice Earth's pull. It made you incredibly strong, incredibly dense. But Newton's laws are universal." With a final, precise strike to the base of his skull, Nova completed her work. Krazoth's massive form crashed to the arena floor, limbs twitching but no longer responding to his will. He lay there, eyes still alert and aware, but body paralyzed from cascading neural disruption. "The greater the mass," Nova said quietly, standing over him, "the greater the inertia. The greater the inertia." "The slower to change direction," Krazoth finished, his voice a whisper of its former thunder. "Clever human. Finish it." Nova shook her head. "That's not why I'm here." She turned to face the Grand Arbiter's viewing box, raising her voice to address not just Zaxul, but the entire Confederation. "I came to deliver a message. Humanity is not your enemy, nor your prey, nor your conquest. We are persistence predators from a challenging world. We study. We adapt. We overcome." She placed the tip of her staff against the arena floor. "We would prefer to be your allies. But make no mistake, we will be respected." The silence that followed was absolute, broken finally by a sound no one had expected. Krazoth's laughter, rumbling from his immobilized form. "The human spares me," he announced, "and in doing so, proves her superiority. I acknowledge defeat. Victory to Nova Chen of Terra." After a moment of stunned silence, the announcer's voice echoed through the Colosseum. "Unprecedented. Krazoth concedes. Victory by technical incapacitation and formal submission. The 43rd Grand Tournament champion is the human." The crowd's reaction defied simple description: shock, disbelief, and then, gradually, a growing wave of approval that built into thunderous acclaim. Species that had never considered humans worthy of notice were suddenly chanting Nova's name in 100 different languages. In the aftermath, Nova stood before the Grand Arbiter and the Confederation Council, no longer a prisoner, but an accredited representative of Earth. "Your demonstration has been educational," Zaxel admitted, his crystalline form shifting in complex patterns. "The preemptive strike plans against your colonies have been nullified. Instead, we offer formal recognition of human sovereignty and an invitation to join the Galactic Confederation as equals." Nova inclined her head. "Earth will be pleased to accept, under the right conditions." "Conditions?" one of the council members asked, a floating gas being contained within a translucent sphere. "Mutual respect, fair trade agreements, cultural exchange," Nova listed. "The usual diplomatic arrangements between civilized worlds." The emphasis on civilized was subtle but unmistakable. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. "Agreed," Zaxel said after consulting with his colleagues. "And perhaps a cultural exchange program for combat techniques." Nova smiled. "I think that can be arranged." As she turned to leave, Krasov approached, moving slowly but steadily as his nervous system recovered. The massive champion had exchanged his weapons for formal ceremonial garb. "You have earned my respect, Nova of Terra," he said, bowing his head. "Few beings understand the weakness inherent in strength as you do, and few appreciate the strength that can come from perceived weakness," she replied. Krasov's features formed what she now recognized as a smile. "I would learn more of your world and your people. Perhaps I could serve as liaison between our species." Nova considered this for a moment. Earth could use an advocate who understands both sides, especially one the Confederation respects. Together, they walked toward the shuttle that would take them to the diplomatic vessel now in orbit, the first step in a new relationship between humanity and the wider galactic community. In the coming months, the story of the human who defeated Krasov spread throughout Confederation space. Attitudes toward Earth and its colonies shifted from dismissive to cautiously respectful. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges flourished, and humanity took its place among the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as equals. And whenever a new species questioned humanity's right to that place, they were quietly advised to review the tournament recordings and to remember that Nova Chen had been considered one of Earth's more diplomatic representatives.